of Sam Pittman's former players were drafted over this weekend. And I know you talked about in that sound clip we played from the Pig Trail Nation how instrumental he was in the 1 year you had him. How big was it, his coaching, to get you drafted in the third round of the NFL draft that year?
Well, first off, appreciate you having me on. And, I've said it, I've said it once, I've said it many times, and I'll keep saying it. It was such a blessing for me, my last year, even though from a record standpoint, wasn't the best thing, obviously on paper, but it was so good for me to get him in there, and as well as Ben Herbert, who was the strength coach at the time, because the mix of those two, at least for me, I truly believe is what helped me get taken where I got taken in the NFL draft that year. And he's someone that, everyone that you talk to that's a former player of his, everyone says the same thing. No one's ever going to say anything bad about him. And obviously this past weekend was another example of just the kind of coach that he is. Now, there's no doubt in my mind what he was able to do from an offensive line standpoint is going to translate over to a head coach.
Travis, you mentioned you and some of your friends of the offensive alignment, but it wasn't just you guys that were making a public push. It was several players outside of the offensive line room that were making a push for Sam Pittman to become the Arkansas head coach. Why are players so quick to support and believe in him?
Well, because everyone knows how genuine he is, and he's the same person. If he's going to be recruiting you, then, well, and I know that he didn't recruit me, but I just know this from talking to a lot of people and obviously being around him. He's the same guy constantly. There's no phases with him that he goes in and out of. He's going to love you. He always says that we are his kids, and he made that known to us. And it's someone that you're going to do anything you can to fight for him, just because you know that they love you, and he's going to coach the heck out of you.
Travis, we've heard a lot about his ability to build the relationships. What is it about his ability to teach the fundamentals, the footwork, that makes him such a special coach on that offensive line? Because clearly he's able to develop players and teach them the techniques that can get them to the NFL.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of a lot of things. It's not necessarily one specific area. The way that he can connect with you on a personal level. It's the way that he can take things that in the beginning might seem, very high level, very complex, that technically should have a lot of steps to them, and he knows how to simplify it to the very just basic standards and allow you to play fast. Just because, especially in the college game in the NFL, that's all that it comes down to in the end, is how fast are you playing and how comfortable are you with your technique.
And certainly he's a guy, you look at the numbers of players he has put, not just in the first round here in recent years, like 6 of the last 8 drafts. He's had players go in the first round, or 6 players in the last 8 drafts go in the first round. It's amazing to me how consistent he has been over the decades, Travis. Why do you think he has been so consistent as a coach?
Well, he's been doing this for a while now, and he's someone who he knows what he believes in, and he has his way of teaching it. At the same time, going back to that relationship side of things, he can recruit. I mean, in my eyes, he's the best coach and best recruiter out there, which obviously when I saw the news back in November, I believe, that Coach Morris got fired, I remember reading the headlines and kind of sitting back in my chair and just thinking, what does Arkansas need? They don't need any new facilities. You already have that. You don't need new fields. You already have that. So you need someone who can recruit. All the other resources were here. And within 5 minutes, I was like, well, Coach Pitman's the guy. He's the guy for it. And it was something that just made a bunch of sense to me and a couple other guys that I knew. And it was something that, we wanted to put out there just because we're like, this makes sense to us, but let's just try to get the fans behind it, just because I don't think this is necessarily a name that people would be thinking about right now. And it was initially something because we believed that he deserved it, hands down. But then it was, let's get the fans kind of talking about something to get them excited again.
Travis, is Clay Henry. the worst thing you can say about a football team is that they're soft. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's definitely up there. That's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what people have said the last few years about Arkansas's football team. And I'm not saying a particular area of the team, but just they were soft. What do you think the chances of people saying that after the first year under Coach Pitman, and why?
I think it's very unlikely. I think just because of the standard that he holds within what will now be his team. It used to be his offensive line rooms are to put it lightly, that just doesn't. That's not going to be tolerated by any standard. And I think just still knowing a couple guys that are on the team, talking with them, that has been, that message has been received very early on, and I think going back to a lot of what fans might have said about the team the past year, past couple of years, a lot of it, I think, comes down to the accountability of the coaches. What are you teaching and what are you allowing, kind of thing. What's the attention to detail? So I'm not agreeing or pointing blame at one specific person or coach or group. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that those things are typically group efforts, and it's going to take a group effort and a team effort to go out on the field Saturdays this fall and get the wins that I know that this team can get.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fixed. I mean, as soon as you put Sam Pittman head coach, my idea is the toughness factor of the team is going to go up, and because I watched the way you guys played under him, and you transfer that to Georgia and saw, they had the meanest, nastiest, and I don't mean anything other than playing football the right way, but that's why his linemen are drafted, in my opinion. I don't know if you see it that way.
Yeah, I think it's a mix. You have to, and the unfortunate thing about the draft is that there are all these different projections out there, and people, and I completely understand why they are. They want to get people talking, get ideas going out there, just because then that gets the fan base kind of riled up. But I think a lot of it obviously determines on, from the NFL standpoint, the front office, what that front office believes, what the schematics of their organization are, and how a player fits into that. And I think from the offensive lineman standpoint, Pitman makes you a complete all-around player, because he doesn't necessarily focus on just one area of the game like some other coaches do. It's just I'm so excited for these guys and this team for the years to come now, and especially this coming year, given just what I know about him and what I know that he can do, and how excited I am to see that translate from an offensive line room to an entire team. Now, obviously, I know that we have some strange times that we're in right now, and we gotta kind of weather this storm, however long that is. But whatever this storm does pass, I'm excited for the Hogs to get back out there.
Travis, in talking to Frank Ragnow, he's a center. He said the centers with Coach Pitman would get the first 15 minutes of the day. There was always more to go over with centers just because they're involved in calls and things. And he said when he would get out of class, he sprinted to the building because he wanted an extra 5 minutes on top of that early 15 minutes, because that was the gold time where Sam might just talk about anything, about life.
Yeah.
Do you remember those special little nuggets?
Oh, yeah. I actually structured my class schedule to where I only took 1 hour my last semester, so I had a lot of time on my hands. And actually, my only class my last year was on a Monday, which I believe was a pretty short day for us. I don't even think we had practice necessarily. But yeah, it was on that Monday, and I did that because I wanted to start to get in that mindset and that somewhat of that routine of the NFL schedule. And so it took about a year of planning in advance to try to figure out my schedule and, okay, how are we going to make this work sort of thing. So I had a lot of time with Coach Pitman, because I technically only had about 8 months with him. So I remember going in there, I'd be at the facility hours, 3-4 hours before I needed to, because mix of, getting my body right in the training room beforehand. Then I remember going up there to his office just forever before practice and just literally talk exactly what Frank was saying. You talk about life, you talk about things not related to football, and then you switch over to football and, things that he's picked up during the week that he wanted me to know, things that I've picked up, that ideas that I might have that he would agree with and not agree with. And every time he didn't agree with it, it was completely justifiable. So, no, I definitely remember those days, and it's, honestly, it feels like that was last week.
We're speaking with Travis Swanson, former All-American for the Razorbacks here on the Morning Rush. Travis, you're from Texas, and I think about when Arkansas football has been good, there's been a lot of kids from Texas that have come over and played for the Razorbacks. In your opinion, how important is Texas high school football recruiting to Arkansas's program success?
Well, I think it's big. Would I say that necessarily the Texas players being on Arkansas is the make or break for Arkansas football? Not at all. I obviously, from being from Texas, know how football is viewed in Texas. And I, especially with kids coming out of high school, they're just, I don't care how highly recruited or not recruited they are. If you're a 0-star, 5-star, whatever that is, you're just a shell of the player you're going to be, the person you're going to be, and it's up to the coaches, because that's the thing. I think what people don't realize, or some might realize but not fully understand, is that there's really two sides to this whole thing. You can recruit, but recruiting is only half the battle. You can have all these different hyped up players on paper, and it looks real pretty and stuff like that, but it means nothing, not a single thing, if you can't develop them. Because I've seen 5-star players that didn't pan out to anything, and I've seen guys who are walk-ons and 1-stars, whatever, get developed into just some of the best at their position in the country. So obviously, Texas being kind of right there as a bordering state, you definitely want to have a presence in there. And I'd obviously be a fan of it just because I'm from there. But I don't think that it would necessarily be the make or break. I would put more of my eggs in the development basket. Who are the coaches that are coaching you basket?
Travis, you talk about development. You're a 3-star coming out of high school, and you turned yourself into an All-American. I know that a lot of your hard work, blood, sweat, and tears was put into that, but you mentioned how important it is for a developmental coach to be the head on the hill. Sam Pittman, it seems like from all indications based on different college football people to talk to, based on his former players, that's his biggest strength, is development, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. Without a doubt. And I think it just goes back to really the stuff that I've said earlier today is it's a mix between that development and that personal side that he has with you and how he can recruit, just because when he walks in, he knows how to the guy just knows what he's doing, and he knows how to tie everything together. And it's something that, you as a player, you can sense, how genuine coaches are typically after just a little bit with them. And a guy like Coach Pitman, you're going to do everything for him, anything you can to not let him down. And that's why I think one of the biggest factors that makes him so good at what he does.
Travis, you mentioned Ben Herbert earlier, the strength and conditioning coach at Arkansas your last year. What you accredited him for some of your development. You're talking about physical development. What was it about his program that was so successful for you? And what do you think Arkansas will be doing under Sam Pittman and the way he's going to develop a strength and conditioning program that will help develop linemen in the future?
Yeah, Coach Herbert was a guy that, and nothing against any of the other strength coaches I had in the past, it was just something that, everyone's different. from a body standpoint, genetic standpoint, in terms of what they react to in a positive or negative manner. And for me, Coach Herb was one of those guys that he and I it just clicked for, whatever reason it was. And the knowledge that he has and the way that he went about things were a little different than the previous staff that we had in. And nothing against them, but I think that resonated with me a little bit better in his techniques and what he taught and how he taught it. And it was, like I said before, for me, at least, it was a perfect storm when both of them came here. Now, in terms of, how Coach is going to just develop his team in general, Coach Pitman's been a part of some very good teams. So he knows how, from a physical standpoint, what are the attributes that each position has to have, and I know that the coaching staff that the strength and conditioning staff that he has here now, from what I've heard, is top of the line. And I believe Coach Walker, his name is
Jamil Walker. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he trained under Ben Herbert too at one point. I believe at Wisconsin, unless I'm messing that up. So he is one of the Ben Herbert proteges, to say the least. So if there's anything like that, which I would assume that there is in Coach Walker's training, then they're going to be in really good hands.
Travis Swanson with us on the Morning Rush. Travis, let me top off the interview with this, man. Tell us about what you're doing now at Athletes Advantage Financial.
Yeah, so this is to try to give you the 30,000-foot level of all this. So, I kind of abruptly retired after my last season in Miami. Didn't think about retiring at all. My wife was pregnant, and, when our little girl got here, something over me said, hey, you need to stop, kind of thing, which then obviously led me down the path of retirement. And we were able to do that just because of the financial planning that we essentially had done along the way. The guy that has done our stuff all throughout the years, I got introduced to him just from some old college disability policies back in the day. So that's how our relationship started. And it was something that was that affected me and my family in such a positive manner that I wanted to get into that, to try to give guys that same option. Because as unfortunate as this sounds, every locker room I was in, I had a lot of teammates that had to stick in it for 2, 3, 4 years longer than what they wanted, because they weren't smart with their money and how they handled things, and they took bad advice from people, whatever the case may be. That happened to them, and they had to put their body through the physical toll for additional years, even though they didn't necessarily want it to. So my whole thing is I want to go work for this team, and we're based here in Fayetteville. Got a couple different people scattered throughout the country. We work not only with athletes, we do college disability policies as well. We work with doctors, physicians, normal people. It's a one-stop shop type thing that I become so passionate about, because I know that it works, and I just want to give people that same option that I had, whether they're in athletics or not, just because obviously there's going to come a point in people's lives where they don't necessarily want to work anymore. So we try to put them in that best position possible.
Travis Swanson, former Razorback, former All-American, All-SEC lineman. Travis, appreciate you carving out some time for us this morning, man.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely, man.